Welcome back to another episode of Christian Natural Health. Today, I'm pleased to have Dr. Mark Odland with us. Mark is a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified EMDR therapist, and faith-based counselor on a mission to help men break free from the cages holding them back and step into the strength and purpose they were created for. Over the last 15 years, he's conducted over 15,000 therapy sessions, trained over 1,000 therapists, helped over 1,000 clients with a particular focus on supporting high achieving men through individual EMDR therapy and marriage counseling. As an approved EMDR consultant and continuing education provider through EMDR IA, he's trained therapists around the world through his consultation, books, and online courses. He offers executive coaching for business leaders and mental coaching for athletes. Welcome, Mark. Thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here, Lauren. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So, tell us a little bit for people that might not be familiar with EMDR. Can you define that
Yeah,
for us and talk about what it is?
for sure. Yeah, and I was excited to talk with you today because I was thinking like our audiences probably have a lot in common. If
Uh-huh.
nothing else, just being open to the body's ability to heal.
Right,
Um,
absolutely.
Heal itself if things are aligned
Mhm.
properly.
Right,
And I know you see that in your world as a physician, and I see
right,
that on my side with mental health.
right.
So EMDR, it stands for eye movement desensitization
Hmm.
reprocessing.
Hmm.
And it is one of just a short handful of trauma therapies that's approved by some of the biggest bodies like the Veterans Association,
Yeah,
and places like that to treat PTSD. That's how it became famous
yeah.
for curing PTSD. But then, of course, they discovered that it heals all sorts of old wounds very effectively. And most of us carry, even with good parents, even with relatively stable childhoods, if some of us are fortunate enough to have that, most of us carry with us some wounds, some emotional wounds from our past,
Yeah.
some of them having to do with our physical safety, and some of them having to do with how we see ourselves,
Mhm.
feelings of shame, feeling unlovable, feeling helpless, feeling out of control.
Yeah.
And then what I see as a therapist is by the time people come to me, oftentimes I'm working with uh, these guys who are under a lot of pressure and maybe achieving a lot on paper, but
Hmm.
things are starting to crumble in their lives. Their nervous systems are feeling taxed,
Yeah.
stressed. Maybe they're falling into addictive patterns or avoidance or anger. And so a lot of these times, these things are the result of a nervous system that never really healed.
Mm.
And and so to come back full circle, um, what we do is it's a very different kind of therapy where it's not just traditional talk therapy, it's very focused.
Yeah.
It involves a couple sessions of getting a good history, building some rapport, and
Yeah.
identifying what are those core traumas? What are
Yeah.
those core memories that continue to impact the nervous system today
Yeah.
by what we pursue, what we avoid, and how we see ourselves and how we see the world?
Yeah.
And then once we have that plan, then we target one memory at a time.
Yeah.
And it looks goofy to people who've never seen EMDR before
Huh?
because the eye movement part of it is
Sure.
I take, in an EMDR session, we take just a couple minutes to kind of pull up the memory, to feel it
Hmm.
in our body, to think about the images that are disturbing, the negative beliefs that are attached to the memory,
Yeah.
the emotions, the body sensations. And then once you're holding all that together, and it's kind of hard because you're feeling it, you're really going there.
Yeah.
Instead of continuing to talk about it,
Right.
we pair it with this outside distraction, and that's eye movements, which
Right.
sounds so strange, but it's not
Yeah.
hypnosis. You're fully
Sure.
conscious, fully aware.
Yeah.
And we do sets of about 30 seconds of eye movements.
Hmm.
And while that's happening, the person is simultaneously thinking about the memory
Hmm.
while at the same time trying to do this crazy multitask thing with
Yeah.
watching, I'm like going like this back and forth in front of their face,
Sure. Uh-huh.
but all they're doing is free associating.
Uh-huh. Okay.
They don't have to perform, they don't have to try, they don't have to do it perfect for it to work. And then
Yeah.
after about 30 seconds, I stop and
Mm-hmm.
ask, what are you noticing?
Hmm.
And what happens is it unleashes the brain's ability to desensitize the oversensitive, disturbing images and emotions. So the body starts to calm down.
Mm-hmm.
The images start to fade.
Hmm.
And then it also unlocks the brain's ability to connect to healing, truthful information at the
Interesting.
exact same time. So
Yeah.
a lot of times, like a lot of the guys I work with are Christians and their
Yeah.
faith is important to them. but I hear it all the time. How come I know this truth in my head?
But can't
Like
get it here.
they
Yeah.
can't get it to the heart. And
Right.
so if I had to sum up EMDR in just one sentence, I would say it's something that can change your nervous system to
Uh-huh.
help you get the truth from the head to the heart.
Yeah.
And not just know the truth in one part of your brain, but then it goes out the window when you're arguing with your spouse or when you're stressed out
Right.
at work. But
Right.
to have that truth actually kind of get into the memories themselves
Yeah.
and reshape the memories from a more truthful perspective.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, so when it's all said and done,
Uh-huh.
a successful EMDR session, at the end of the session, we go back to the original memory and say, when you think of that memory now, 0 to
Uh-huh.
10,
Yeah.
10 being the worst, 0 being completely
Sure.
calm, how
Yeah.
disturbing does it feel now?
Right. Yeah.
And they feel completely calm.
Yeah.
And when you think about the memory now, how true does the truth feel
Mm-hmm.
about you?
Right.
If they started out as the feeling of I'm helpless, I have control. It's
Right.
over.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
the feeling was I'm not safe, now it's
Mm,
I'm safe now.
right.
If it's I'm unlovable, it's
Mm,
wow, I am loved. And like that was I didn't deserve that. I was just a kid.
sure.
And actually feel it like at a heart level, at a gut level.
Right.
And what seems almost miraculous about this therapy to me, and it continues to surprise me and it just
Mm,
be such a joy to be part of it, is it's not dependent on going through a checklist of things you have to tell yourself for the
right.
truth to stick. It just changes the way your brain stores the information
Yeah.
so that it lasts, like it sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this sounds to me like the concept of, bypassing a limbic override is the way that I've heard this described in the past.
hmm
Is
hmm
that kind of the way that you think of it as well, or is it more than that?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can conceptualize trauma as, activating the limbic system, the emotional system, the fight, flight, freeze response
Right.
that
Yeah.
tries to keep us safe.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing with trauma is with unhealed trauma, the brain can't differentiate past and present. It all becomes present when you get
Yeah.
triggered.
Right, right, right.
And so it's almost there's different working theories on the mechanism of action for what is actually healing this. The original theory 40 years ago was like, could this connect to REM sleep where our
Mhm.
eyes go back and forth rapidly and
Oh,
has a
interesting. I never would have thought
um
of that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so the idea there is there might be something about our brains consolidating memories while we sleep
Yeah,
and deciding what information to discard and kind of throw in the junk pile
sure.
and what information to kind of store and hold
Uh-huh.
on to.
Yeah.
And when we have trauma, it messes that whole thing up.
Uh-huh.
And another theory about why EMDR works, which I think is interesting,
Yeah.
is this idea of you're kind of pulling the memory to the surface.
Right.
And because you're forced to multitask with something that's fully grounding you in the present,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a software update for the brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Your nervous system
Yeah.
is saying, I'm still in the car accident. I'm still in the car. I'm panicking. My heart is racing. It's not over. But
Right.
wait a second. I'm in the office having to like move my eyes really fast. And there's this therapist in front of me. And
Yeah.
it's almost
Just enough
like,
distraction. Yeah.
yeah, the distraction kind of overrides
Yeah.
and rewrites the memory from a more truthful, present focused
Sure.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And how would you say that you integrate your Christian faith into the process of therapy in general and also EMDR
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah. That's a great question. I mean, I think what I explain to people is, I think EMDR is just one of these miraculous ways that our bodies can heal. And that's part of I would like to think the original design that God had for our bodies.
Right.
Um, it's so fascinating. You can go down these rabbit trails, right, of philosophy and theology about like we live in this fallen world where on one hand our bodies are moving toward decay and more our mortality, right? Like we feel the ravages of these wounds and
Mhm.
age and all these things. But there's also seem to be these remnants of the good that was part of the original creation within us,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Our body is still yearning for wholeness and for
Right.
healing, and it moves us that direction simultaneously.
Sure.
And just like a broken bone,
Uh-huh.
a fractured bone that's like it's a compound fracture, it's sticking out of the skin.
Yeah.
It seems so horrible, and it is.
Yeah.
But if the bone is set properly
Yeah.
and it's scrubbed out so it doesn't get infected,
Right.
and stitched up properly, I almost miraculously it heals
All
together even
all
stronger than it
together.
was
Yeah.
before.
Hmm.
And so I think it's the same idea with what happens in our brains with EMDR, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, I frame it for people within that context of like God designed our brains to heal naturally if the right barriers are removed, right?
Amen. Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. Mhm.
Um, Practically what that looks like is if I have someone coming to me they're like, yeah, my faith is important to me. I want that to be part of therapy.
Right.
Then we pray together. So I'll pray to open or close our sessions. We talk about faith in their faith life. We talk about and doubt as part of the experience
Sure.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
People go through that.
Mhm.
We talk about how Scripture, the wisdom from Scripture, and the promises that we have in Christ can inform the process.
Yeah.
Where it
Absolutely.
shows up most beautifully, I'd say that I it's such a privilege to be a part of this is
Uh-huh.
during EMDR,
Yeah.
after I do a 30-second set of eye movements,
Yeah.
I stop, I have them take a deep breath. What are you
Uh-huh.
noticing now?
Yeah.
And they'll say things like, okay, I feel calmer, or I had this insight. Again, it's moving them toward truth.
Right.
And oftentimes I can kind of stand back and just marvel at
Watch it
like,
happen.
watch it happen, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's not uncommon for people to kind of sometimes get a little stuck,
Uh-huh.
right?
Okay.
They get stuck on a negative image or a
Mhm.
negative belief, and their brain isn't, for whatever reason, isn't able to connect to the truth as fully and spontaneously. That's when, as the therapist, I'm trained to intervene with what's called a cognitive interweave. So, kind of a
Okay.
thought, weave in a thought or a question to
Hmm.
kind of nudge them toward the truth.
Right.
So if I have a Christian in my office,
Yeah.
right, they have this whole reservoir of resources, of adaptive healing information that
Hmm.
they already know in their head. And now we just want to kind of reach in there and grab some of it so that it can get to the
Hmm.
heart.
Sure.
So, so I guess an example of this would be, okay, I have a Christian in my office and they had a traumatic loss. They lost a loved one.
Yeah.
And it was sudden and it was traumatic and they're still grieving. And part of their trauma is whenever they think about this person they loved, they can't even connect to the joyful, happy memories that they had with this person
Yeah.
because what's frozen in their mind is the scene of the accident or in the hospital or
Right.
some kind of traumatic image.
Yeah.
And even though rationally they have reason to hope as a Christian,
Right.
their nervous system won't let them go there,
Hmm.
right? So we're doing a set of EMDR, and what are you noticing now? Oh, they're in the hospital. They're just still in the hospital, and then they're stuck. But then in that moment, I can say something as simple as, okay, so through your faith and what you know about their faith and this hope that you
Hmm.
have in
Yeah.
Christ, are they really still in the hospital?
Where
Where
are
are
they
where
now?
where are they now?
Yeah.
And it sounds so simple and almost
Right.
if you didn't know what was happening in the session, it would almost seem like a condescending question, like a rhetorical question. But in that moment, they needed to just connect to that truth. And then
Right.
they have this moment of like, oh, that's right. They're like, they're okay. They're with Jesus.
Right.
And then we don't get into talk therapy. I just say, just, okay, go with that.
Hmm.
Jump right into another set, 30
Right.
seconds of, and then it's almost like those eye movements are cementing the truth. It's like
Yeah.
it's stitching it together. And by the end of that next set of eye movements, it's like their shoulders drop 2 inches
Yeah.
and like maybe some tears have been released. And I say, what are you noticing now? And they're like, oh, I just have this image of like I see them with Jesus and they're okay.
Beautiful.
And it's so beautiful. And then every so often in EMDR we go back and we check on the original memory.
Yeah.
And this is where it's so cool is I'll say, now go back to the original memory we started with. Maybe we're 30 minutes into the session.
Sure.
And now, without having to try, they say, "Oh, that's so crazy. Like, I can't even see the hospital anymore.
Oh,
Like, all I see is them with Jesus." And
that's beautiful. Yeah.
cool, go with that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of like a window into like what a
Yeah.
session of EMDR looks like and how the truth often organically links in.
Right.
But if it doesn't, I can nudge them, knowing these promises we have from Scripture,
Right.
and have it sink in deeper. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so you said that your kind of target population is
Hmm.
guys, high achieving guys in particular. So
Yeah.
what would you say is it about that personality that tends to get them locked into trauma, anxiety, burnout? And how have you seen this process or other techniques help to move guys through that?
Great question.
Mm.
Yeah. It's interesting. The more I've done it, and it's become like my kind of ultra niche within the EMDR world is
Yeah.
it's kind of like high achieving Christian guys is like
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah.
Although I'll work with different kinds of people, but that tends to be who finds me.
Sure.
Um, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it was actually the trauma itself that propelled them toward their success. So
Interesting.
there's two ways to frame that, right? One is in the trauma world what they call post-traumatic growth.
Uh-huh.
So there's this sense that it's not all doom and gloom. Trauma, there is a resiliency there and
Right.
ways that we overcome, and so some nobility in how
Uh,
we coped and survived, and with through creativity and ingenuity and toughness.
yeah.
But what I tell people is sometimes the operating system that a young boy develops to cope with difficulties in their home growing up or at school or whatever it was,
Mhm.
it works well enough
That
to
they don't
achieve.
have to do more. Yeah.
Yeah, and the probably the most common core negative belief is something like I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
a I'm a
Say that.
failure. I'm weak. And so what happens is um here's I think this might be helpful for your audience to think about is if you can identify your core lie, the core
Yeah.
negative belief that you carry, that's not just here, but you
Uh,
feel it,
right.
especially when certain situations come up,
Sure.
that unlocks the key to understanding yourself more fully. Because what happened is you had to, it's almost like that becomes a phobia.
Mhm.
That worst feeling or negative belief about yourself becomes a phobia that you avoid like the plague. And so you have to overcompensate.
Right.
Almost like your whole life becomes a way to avoid having to feel that feeling.
This is sounding so much like Brene Brown. I recently read her,
Yeah.
Daring Greatly, I think was
Oh,
the book,
yeah.
but
The
yeah,
shames. Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
exactly. And so, another way I'd frame it is the fear of feeling like a loser, like I'm weak, like I'm a failure,
Mm,
becomes the fuel to get as far away from that as possible. And what that looks like is
achieve,
success.
achieve. Yeah. Yep.
It looks like accomplishment. It
Yep.
looks like getting external validation
Huh?
because I got the job, I have the status, I have the money. And for my Christian guys, I don't oversimplify it. I mean, like there's genuine like
There's
heart
value to those things.
to serve
Sure.
God and to make the world
Right.
a better place and to
Yeah.
know that in Dave Ramsey's words, it's not broke people who are building orphanages,
True.
So it's like so it's
Yeah.
almost like
There's
power
a
in the hands of
right.
decent guys is better than
Of
power in the
course.
hands of right. So there is that. So there's nuance,
But
but
it depends on like your motive. Are you doing this from a heart to serve God, to serve others, or are you doing it from a place of brokenness to try to,
well,
yeah.
that's right.
Mhm.
And there are these moments in therapy where guys have this like aha moment of like,
Right.
man, if that actually healed inside of me, and I knew, well, yeah, I know I'm through the lens of faith. I know I still am a sinner. I know I still have faults. I know I still but I'm also loved. I'm also created in the image of God and so valuable that he went to the cross for me. And in
Yeah.
that sense, I'm worthy of love and good things.
Mhm.
Like if I really believed that at my core and I no longer had shame and fear
Mhm.
as my core fuel for what motivates me in life,
Yeah. What could you
that
do?
actually that can lead to anxiety and actually
Oh,
can lead to self-sabotage in the therapy process.
I can see that.
So
Yeah.
we name it and then we say, hey, what would it be like to step out in faith and see if love and gratitude
Hmm.
and service and faithfulness can be the primary motivators moving forward.
Hmm.
Um, and that can feel risky at some deep level for people,
Right.
but it's such a better life because when that heals, people are now they can be more present with their wife and their kids. Now they're
Sure.
not getting angry at dumb stuff. Now they're not, right? It's like their emotions are in proportion to the situation and not overreactions anymore.
from something in the past. Yeah, yeah,
Yes, exactly.
right. Yeah. How often do you see that unresolved trauma drives addictive behavior?
I mean, maybe there's exceptions, but in almost every case that I've come across, there tends to be trauma there.
Really?
Um, and this is an interesting insight. In addition to the physiological addiction, so say an addiction to nicotine
Mm,
or
yeah.
alcohol or dopamine, I guess if controversy over,
Yeah, yeah,
how you want to frame that, but
sure.
in addition to the physical addiction, through the lens of EMDR, we also talk about there might be an emotional addiction that's fused
Hmm.
with that negative addiction.
Yeah.
So, here, this is really interesting. So, for example, a kid who grew up
Hmm.
never belonging,
Hmm.
feeling like they weren't, they never fit in.
Yeah.
And then you go back and like their thing is smoking. They want to quit smoking.
Hmm.
And then you discover the first time that they smoked a cigarette was with the older boys on,
Oh,
at recess, and
yeah.
he kind of like choked down his first cigarette, and they patted him on the back and say, "Hey, nice job, man. That, like, you didn't, like you're one of us." Essentially this feeling of deep belonging. So what
Right.
happens is not only is he starting to get addicted to nicotine,
Validation.
but the
Yeah.
validation actually gets fused
Right.
to the behavior of smoking. And
Mm.
so a lot of times you can look at the dichotomy of I don't belong, I
Uh-huh.
do belong.
Right.
So we're chasing this very normal human need to
Uh-huh.
connect.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, now the brain has fused that together with the action of smoking.
Uh-huh.
So much so that a 60-year-old man could be sitting alone with no one around him on his porch, smoking
Yeah.
a cigarette. And then if you drill it down and say, what is the feeling that you get besides the rush of the nicotine?
Yeah.
And he'll say, "Oh my gosh, it's a feeling of like I'm loved.
That's
I'm,"
fascinating.
and it makes no rational sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But then you do EMDR on it,
Right.
and then it starts to break that illusion apart.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
then he's having insights like, "Oh man, like I'm not belonging to anyone. I'm alone by myself, killing myself with these cigarettes.
Right.
And if I really wanted to belong, I would cut back, have my clothes not
Sure.
smell so bad, not be afraid to hang out with this friend."
Yeah.
And then so they're making these adaptive connections in their brain.
Sure.
And then after some EMDR, you go back and the guy, he's like, "I don't know if it worked or not." Well, how many cigarettes did you smoke last week? Well, now that you mention it, it's about half of what I used to.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay, now you can just deal with the nicotine thing and not
Sure.
with this
By
like
itself. Yeah.
other like driver to be loved and accepted, because that just got fused in the wrong way. The brain just associated it incorrectly. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's fascinating. There's a book that I read that was by Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit, and I'll tell a lot of patients who are
Mm,
struggling with some kind of addictive behavior that he breaks it down into the trigger, the behavior itself, and the reward. And if you can substitute another behavior that gives you that is fueled by the same trigger and gives you the same reward, then you can swap them out, where hopefully the thing that you're substituting is going to be less objectionable in some way. But
yeah.
what you're describing, because he really is only dealing with the physiologic component of it, of, maybe this, the cigarette or the glass of wine is giving you something that helps you to calm down. So maybe you do some yoga, maybe you have sublingual GABA, maybe like something
Right.
along those lines. Or maybe there's a sort of a social component where you're trying to interact with people. So if you go
Hmm.
out and interact a little bit more, then maybe you won't need that thing anymore. But what you're talking about is like, if you go back and look at your timeline of when this thing became an addiction, that's fascinating because that's exactly what I do when I talk to people about chronic disease. I always have them take me back
Interesting.
to the like, when did you take me back to when you were perfectly healthy and tell me
Hmm.
the timeline. And so then
Hmm.
we see what happened. They started getting this and this and this, and then I'll say what happened here. And then we start talking about everything that was happening in the timeline around that time, which might be emotional, might be I moved into a moldy house, or like we had a
Sure.
house, or it might be something along those lines. But
Hmm.
this sounds like it's exactly the same thing, except it's from an emotional standpoint because it's, yeah, it mapped perfect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's so cool that you're
Yeah,
seeing that too in your practice from a
right.
different angle.
Mhm.
And it can be powerful. There's something, I don't know if you've heard of, there's a technique that's not unique to EMDR, but we use it a lot. And it's
Oh,
called the emotional float back technique.
okay. What's that?
Okay, so here's an example. Take someone and their quote unquote addiction is overeating. And
Yeah.
okay, like what's the culprit?
Right.
Okay, I do good all day and then I get this craving
Yeah.
and at midnight I get out the ice cream
Sure.
and
Right.
I can't, and then again, you dial, okay, I know ice cream tastes good.
Mhm.
Okay, I know there's dopamine release when you're eating ice cream.
Right.
Okay, what is the feeling about yourself
Yeah.
that you get? And for a lot of people, it's I'm loved, right? It's I'm loved or I deserve this or
Uh-huh.
I'm in control. It's an I
Uh-huh.
statement, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then you have them. So say it's I'm loved. Okay,
Uh-huh.
okay, interesting. I'm loved. Where do you feel that in your body? It's kind of this warm feeling in my heart or my
Yeah.
stomach. Okay,
Right.
so I just want you to think about this connection with eating ice cream and that warm feeling of I'm loved in your stomach. I want you to just close your eyes and drift back to an earlier time in your life where you felt that same thing.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, it's eating cookies with grandma.
Oh, there we are. Okay.
There we are,
Yeah.
right? And so again, it's a beautiful thing to have that memory with grandma, but because love got associated with the sweets,
Right.
now it's actually not loving to continue that pattern.
Sure.
And so then you target the stuff with grandma, and then it's like, but kind of like what you're doing with your patients, you go
Right.
back in time and you understand where this stuff came from.
Right.
And sometimes it unlocks something.
Right. Yeah.
And you can do the same thing, not just with the positive addictions, but with trauma itself. I use it mostly with the trauma,
Yeah.
where someone's saying, I came to therapy because I can't stand the arguments I get in with my wife.
Yeah.
Um, and I have them unpack the argument and identify what's that negative belief that really stirs up
Uh,
and makes you feel so, oh, I feel completely helpless.
right. Uh-huh.
Okay, sit with that feeling.
Hmm.
I'm helpless, that feeling in your stomach, that picture of your wife's face.
Hmm.
And now I want you to drift back in time to the earliest time you remember feeling that way.
Okay.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, I was 6 years old and I was getting bullied on the playground.
Uh,
Whoa, out of the millions of memories that your brain
yeah.
stores, that's the one that came to the surface.
Yeah.
It's connected. And so then we do EMDR
On that memory.
on that memory from
Yeah.
age 6.
Okay.
And it almost sounds too good to be true, but then what happens is you process that memory, you get it by the roots of where you learned I'm helpless. Your nervous system shifts, and
Hmm.
now they come back 2 weeks later and they say, yeah, it's actually been a good couple of weeks. I felt like I got hit by a truck the first 2 days after our session, but then my wife and I, we talked about that same thing that used to rile me up,
Uh-huh.
and I felt calm. Like I felt like, okay, this is still annoying, or this is still a little bit frustrating, or that she doesn't hear me totally, but I don't feel helpless. Like I feel like we can have this conversation.
Right. Yeah.
So, so yeah, it's like you're removing, we talk about being triggered back to something. We're
Sure.
trying to eliminate the things that, so eventually you can't get triggered back to. There's nothing there to be triggered back to.
Right. There's no emotional hijacking happening that isn't related to what's happening in the here and now anymore.
That's beautifully said. The goal of EMDR is to get your nervous system back like a musical instrument, back in tune, so that
Right.
it's not too flat, it's not too sharp, it's just
Sure.
proportional to the situation.
Okay. Interesting. So, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. So somebody
Hmm.
finds themselves, whatever the circumstance might be, where they feel like they're being flooded, emotionally flooded by something.
Hmm.
Sounds like this technique could apply to that, where you could just say, all right, stop for a second, figure out what it is that you're feeling right here, take yourself back to the history. But then if they don't have somebody in front of them, what do they do with this? So what now?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
So there is a book
Uh-huh.
um, called Getting Past Your Past
Hmm.
by Francine Shapiro, who invented EMDR.
Ah, okay.
And so that could be a good read for someone because that kind of, I mean, it's kind of a giant like explanation of why EMDR is awesome, but it also like tries to distill it into
Sure.
self-help techniques that can
Uh-huh.
be helpful for people as resources.
Uh-huh.
Um, what some people will do is the other thing besides eye movements, which is a left-right bilateral stimulation. You can also do EMDR with left-right tapping.
Oh
So you
yeah,
can
okay.
You can do tapping like
Uh-huh.
this. You can do buzzers, like EMDR therapists have these buzzers you can put in your hands and it
Yeah.
alternates left, right, left, right.
Uh-huh.
The rule of thumb is this. If you can do slow tapping,
Uh-huh.
tends to be calming.
Uh-huh.
And if you can self-soothe by feeling stressed and then doing some slow tapping, maybe like back and forth 6, 10 times,
Yeah.
sometimes you'll feel a shift in your nervous system.
Hmm.
But the faster and longer you tap, the
Uh-huh.
more it's like putting on the accelerator on the car.
Right. Uh-huh.
And it's more likely to jump to more traumatic memories, more
Sure.
associations, more emotions.
Yeah.
And so one rule of thumb is you do a little 0 to 10 scale. How stressed am I right now? If it's less than 5, maybe I can tap through this myself without a
Hmm.
therapist
Yeah.
and kind of just keep it contained. But if
Yeah.
it's more than a 5, I should probably
Go see someone.
go see
Yeah.
someone and look at this with a professional.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The speed is interesting because I'm thinking of like the speed of the brain waves that are associated with various different
Mm,
neurological states. So the theta waves are really slow and deep, and they're very similar to the rhythm of the earth. And this is the brain waves when you're in deep sleep. And then there's the alpha
mm.
waves, which are, I think I'm missing one in there, but there's the alpha waves, which is like calm focus. It's where you're, the best state that most of us feel like
Hmm.
when we're in flow, like we're doing what we love, we're not
Mm.
asleep, we're fully awake, but we're not overstimulated. But then there's beta waves, which are much faster. And those are going to be the I'm firing on all cylinders and you're running on adrenaline and also you can get to the place of agitation, but it's the speed that makes the difference. So that's
Interesting.
interesting about the idea of the tapping. The faster you go, it's almost like you're entraining your brainwave to speed up, which then is going to trigger release of adrenaline. Totally
Oh,
speculating.
I love that. No, I believe that I was at an
Yeah.
EMDR conference and there was an EMDR trainer who was going down that rabbit hole and
Right.
and
Oh,
and and
okay.
make and can so you're I think that's a really good insight that there could be something with that.
Maybe.
And something that you said too is a big piece of EMDR. It's almost like for lack of a better term, like the Goldilocks of like not too hot, not too cold, not too
Right.
simulated, not too
Sure.
like dissociated or
Right.
or detached.
Yep.
My job as an EMDR therapist is to make sure that everyone stays in what we call their window of tolerance,
Makes sense.
meaning 1 foot in the past, but 1 foot firmly in the present.
Yep.
And I'm reading their body language that I'm never going to allow them to have a full-blown panic attack in my office because we'll put the
Right.
brakes on before
Sure.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're also not going to be so overwhelmed that they have to detach and like zone
Sure.
out and stare into
Yeah. I
space and
love
kind
that.
of be gone, right?
Right.
So like that's where
Excellent.
the healing happens, is in that sweet
Right.
spot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense. Absolutely. What have I not asked you that you want to make sure you leave with our audience?
Well, what I would encourage people to do is to, check out, it doesn't have to be with me, but check out EMDR. I think it's one of those things where if you haven't done it, I mean, I know a lot of your audience is probably wanting to pursue health and wholeness the best that we can in this life
Right.
and for ourselves, for the people we love.
Yeah.
And I think EMDR is just a powerful thing that I encourage everyone to try at least once.
Hmm.
Typically it's not years of talk therapy, and it's
Yeah.
also not one magic wand session.
Sure.
It's typically about 10 sessions, 10 hours of EMDR is kind of what you're signing up for.
Hmm.
So, and there are different great videos online out there, to kind of understand more. The EMDR IA, it's the EMDR International Association, has resources that you can look at.
Yeah.
Um, a while back, I wrote a book called Taming the Tiger.
Hmm.
And it was kind of my own spin on translating EMDR into layman's terms for people.
Okay.
And also to know like not only what it is, the nervous system, how that works with trauma, but also how it can heal and like, do I need it? Like, would this be helpful
Right.
for me?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I think it's one of those things where just like physical health, I think our emotional, mental health, relational health, we separate them into categories, but so much of it's interconnected, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. So I just encourage people if you're on the fence,
Yeah.
take a step of
Right.
faith, take a step of courage,
Yeah.
and I say if it turns out that your therapist isn't great, don't give up on therapy.
Therapy. Yeah.
Just change therapists. And that
Sure.
might seem really like a lot, but
Uh-huh.
I tell people like just like your industry too, it's like we have this camaraderie and a lot of people are trained well and doing well, but like anything, there's different philosophies, different experience levels, different
Sure.
approaches that might be more
Right.
effective than others, right? So um yeah, I say go for it. Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Where can people go to learn more about you?
Yes, they can go to escapethecagenow.com.
I love that.
I know it's so funny. I'm like, but it's it's a metaphor for a lot of my guys are kind of like these caged lions. Like, and what I say is God created you to be this lion. That's the essence of who you really are in God's sight. But we're also becoming. We're trying to actualize that in real life as much as we can in this fallen world.
Right.
And so it's like this image of like the lion that's been stuck in the zoo for too long and they open the cage door and it still just stays in there and it doesn't know it's free,
Yes.
right? So that's the metaphor is to break out of these cages, whatever that cage is for each person is different, right? But yeah, on that website you can find resources. I do free clarity calls with people who are,
Great.
if they're
Okay.
interested in
Yeah.
exploring, if they want to. And although I'm not licensed in Arizona where you are, correct?
Yeah. Right.
They I'm licensed in multiple states, and Arizona does allow someone like me to practice for up to 90 days
Oh,
um,
okay. Okay.
in a calendar year with clients in Arizona, which is
Sure.
pretty cool.
Oh, that is pretty cool.
Um, and so yeah, you can see that on the website, and as well, we have the Lion Counseling podcast. So doing what you do on the other
Yeah.
side, that's
Very cool.
fun as well.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's I guess that's where people find me. So
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we will link to that in the show notes. And thank you so much, Mark. This has been fantastic. Really appreciate it.
it was fun talking with you, Lauren. Thank you.